Yes, it's perfect.
All right, CCE Finland presents Early Childhood Education Online Conference, and this is a 3-day conference. We will keep seeing you for all 3 days. All right, that's me. My name is Simran Balani, and I am joining you all today from Bangalore, India. And this is a little bit about me. I've been having 22 years of experience in US and India, and I love what I do in early childhood education field. All right, so I'm going to start first. As I said, I thank each one of you for your time that you're spending with us today, whether you're a parent, you're a facilitator, you're a student, or you're one of our speakers, participants, panelists. Thank you very much. And CCE will do everything they can to help you do your best work in ECE. All right, so let's look at the idea behind this conference. Now, as I said, there is a lot happening in this world. For us, for the longest time, ECE meant being physically with the children in the classrooms. Now that the world has changed and there are new normals, we are trying to find out how we can deliver the creativity, the innovation, the social emotional development among the children. And hence we have this global platform where we are getting all the experts in this field to come together and tell us what is that we can do differently. All right, and our innovative theme. So this was a good brainstorming session. I will take you back to the journey when the CCE Finland sat together and said, well, what are we going to do differently in the conference that we are doing, because there are so many webinars happening. So we thought of 10 different themes, each one different than the other: building inclusive spaces, parenting in pandemic, alternate ways of educating preschoolers. You would also see preschools presenting their creative preschool, nurturing physical, social, and emotional development, learning environment in a new normal, assessment methods during online education, what if the devices were not available, and adapting to ECE curriculum, and not to forget play and engagement in new normal. And yes, we have had brilliant response, and we are just like overwhelmed. The registrations went up to 750. Abstracts we received were 520. Abstract that we've shortlisted are 12. My creative preschools, though it was a very, very innovative concept, we still got 39 registrations. We have accepted 35, and who are going to present. Abstract is 7. And we have had 24 countries. So this truly is a global conference for all of us here. And today we have from India, we have presenters from Italy, US, Finland. And so we are like very, very, very eager to meet each one of you and talk to you and listen to your ideas. All right, so here is ways. I'm sure you have already got this in the email, but we are on Facebook Live. We are on YouTube Live. If you just go onto the CCE Finland channel. We also, if you are using the hashtags, you can hashtag CCE Finland, creative education, early childhood education, and of course, COVID-19. All right, so let's look at a little bit of what courses we have at CCE Finland. Of course, my team will be taking care of this in more in-depth information. So of course, we definitely start with the base, which is diploma in early childhood education. We have program in pedagogical leadership. And we also have courses if you are a parent and you want to do the best and make a difference in your child's early years. These courses are for you: New Normal Online Early Childhood Education and Know Your Child Early Childhood Education online courses for parents. So parents out there, make a note of this. This is a very, very unique course for you to join. And these are, of course, very short-term courses and very easy to do. We also have Introduction to Finnish Education, and when I have been talking to my friends about my association with CCE Finland, they do remain curious as to what all we do, what is Finnish education, and why is it worldwidely famous. So here is your online short course to find out more about this. And yes, we have come so far. We have got a design from Finland stamp with us now, and we will definitely talk more about this SISU Schools and Preschool in a Box. And this is a very, very interesting segment for each one of you to watch for. And let's talk about our upcoming events. So we have one-day certification programs which are going to happen for busy educationists out there who have very limited time but want to absorb what's happening new in the world of ECE. So we will have ABC of online training, etiquette, stress management 101. Yes, stress management. Well, of course, we educators have a lot of stress. Let's not forget that. An introduction to blended learning in early childhood education. Can we have flipped classrooms going forward, and problem solving and beyond, and unlocking happiness in the new normal? These same programs will be for weekend certification. Also, we're looking at monthly webinar series talking about how to cope with failure, teaching empathy, erasing competitiveness, and etc. in ECE world. And this is what our theme is today. So every day of this conference, we'll be celebrating with the theme of the day. So the theme of the day is creative leadership in new normal. And we will be, of course, talking about this. And our presenters, our keynote speakers will be touching upon these areas. And this is what the agenda looked like. We have Shireen Kulkarni. She will be presenting the introductory speech, and she'll talk about creative leadership and what CCE is about. We have Rachel and Krista from US talking about integrative STEM leadership in early childhood. We again go back to Shireen to learn more about Finnish early childhood education approach, as I said in my earlier slide. We have Kojum Sobita Devi talking about enriching psychological development, very interesting. And then we have an initial review of the literature and creativity by Federica and Monica. And then we will be ensuring that we address your questions as and when they are coming and as and when our presenters can. Of course, we will have a preschool presentation, my creative preschool presentation from Pava Public Schools, and then we will close with the vote of thanks. And yes, please join your hands and actually join your hands to welcome Shireen Kulkarni. Shireen Kulkarni is Research Director at CCE Finland. She's researcher in the field of creative thinking and education for more than 18 years. And trust me, when I talk to her, even while she's talking to me, she's full of ideas and she's saying, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And this is how we are going to approach all this research. And she has done her research in creativity and school environment, a comparative study between India and Finland, models and narrative teaching techniques, and she's an experienced trainer and psychologist. So please put your hands together and welcome Shireen. Shireen, over to you.
Thanks, Simran. Thanks for this very nice introduction of me. And I welcome you all with my pounding heart, though it is offline or on-site or online, you always, your heart is pounding when you are seeing the audience in front of you. So I warmly welcome you all with all my excitement. So this is our third conference actually in a row, starting the pandemic situation. So I'm going to talk to you more about the Finnish education and what is CCE. So just allow me a few seconds when I share my screen. Yes. So, Council for Creative Education, you have been listening to CCE. So, what is CCE stands for? It's Council for Creative Education. And our mission statement is redefining education through creativity. We work basically on two principles. We believe in these two principles. And we think that everyone is creative by default. As we all know, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who has proposed this theory of little c. So this is also what we believe in. And then creativity is not only in arts and crafts. So nowadays, though there is an awareness about it, but still we need to, emphasize on this principle. Then we have been working with a lot of collaborators with universities, government bodies, schools, companies, and our other kind of organizational partners. We are a cooperative research-based organization established to promote, educate, and invent in creative pedagogy. So, and we think that Finland is a nice model. It's an excellent model where we can see the creativity embedded in day-to-day education. So, we offer the Finnish education model studies to the international educators when they come to Finland. And till today, we have already catered more than 1,000 plus educators who has been visiting Finland and has been visiting the Finnish schools with us. Our network is pretty vast, and we thank all our network people, collaborators, and other university partners for being with us and for spreading the awareness about creative pedagogy and about the Finnish education model wherever they are working for us. As you can see that we are across all the continents. Then we are actually a part of a program called Education Finland, which has the accreditation from the Ministry of Education Finland. So we are kind of ambassadors of Finnish education internationally. We represent them through our various programs through which we kind of teach about the basic principles and what is the source of the secret. So that's what we talk about. Here are our more certifications and awards that we have been received so far. So Simran already talked about this design from Finland. It is a mark of high quality in designing and the usability. So we got it mainly for our product called SISU Box. You will hear more about it from Hiram tomorrow. And then we have got the award from Visit Finland for our education tools, mainly in the theme pedagogical leadership. Then we have been a part of the program where Finland has celebrated the 100 years of independence. So we had our fifth symposium as a program to this 100 years celebration. We have been a part of various networks within Finland, like Education Tampere, Pino Network, and Business Finland. We have received many grants for our projects from the Business Finland as well as from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because we work in not only in Finland but also in Asian countries and in African countries for the betterment of education. This has been our journey so far. The CCE's research work started in 2007, and we formally established it in September 2013. And so far, we have impacted lives of 14,500 plus teachers, students, and educators from 40 different countries and 400 plus institutes. And as you can see the numbers in front of you, you can understand how well we are working, how well we have been received in outside and within Finland as well. These are kind of our key programs. Those are in front of the screen at the moment. So we do a lot of trainings and workshops. We do school consultancy and school development programs, conferences and camps, and many research projects. These are some glimpses of our conferences. Now, how we responded to COVID. So we had our series of free webinars on various topics. And the one key program which I would like to mention here is the NEP 2020 Awareness Webinar Series. NEP 2020 is a new education policy for India. And we are planning to take it to 100,000 teachers for free. So kindly help us in that. Then the other important response to the COVID is like unlocking creativity during lockdowns. And for that, we already had 2 mega conferences. First being the Embrace the Creativity Amidst COVID-19 Crisis to celebrate the World Creativity and Innovation Day. And second was a regional conference on creative education. And you can see the fabulous response that we have got. So right now, I will just, I just want to give you some information about our books that we are publishing. Yes, so these are the books that we are bringing to you as a publishing agency. So, and these books are all based on the conferences that we have organized here, the symposium papers. So this book is also available on Amazon and also on our website. And then we recently published the book called Creativity in New Normal. And this was published on the World Teachers' Day, that is on 5th October. So coming to the leadership, I would like to quote Halford Lucock. So he said that no one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. And I totally believe in this saying. And that's why we think that leadership is a crucial element which we all need, especially in this kind of challenging circumstances. And our today's speakers are going to talk more about it. I will also talk more about it from the Finnish perspective when I come back to you. So I think I hand it over to Simran now. So Simran, it's your turn.
All right, thank you, Shireen. And yes, let's talk about leadership and welcome our keynote speakers for the evening, afternoon, or the early morning, wherever you are. Before I go to the speakers, let's see who are we meeting first. And I am going to talk about them just briefly. I'll take probably a minute. And here we have so our keynote speaker, so we are definitely staying with the theme and we're talking about leadership in STEM. And put your hands together to welcome Rachel. Rachel Geesa has taught PK to 12 art in Indiana and then served as a visual arts educator, gifted resource specialist, and assistant principal in the United States Department of Defense Education Activities Schools in South Korea, Japan, and Virginia. Upon completion of her doctoral degree in educational administration and supervision at Ball State University, Rachel became an assistant professor at education leadership at Ball State University. Rachel focuses her work and research on areas to support educational leaders' creative thinking, integrative STEAM, education, and mentoring. So put your hands together and a very warm welcome to Rachel. And joining Rachel today is Krista Stith. Krista Stith is a PhD, so I'll say Dr. Krista began her teaching career as an adjunct professor and high school science educator in Southwest Virginia. After completing her doctoral work in curriculum and instruction in the Integrative STEM Education Department of Virginia Tech, Krista became the director of the Center for Gifted Studies and Talent Development at Ball State University. She currently teaches pre-service teachers about STEM content and pedagogy and runs a K-5 STEM club, STEAM club. Krista has worked extensively in integrative STEM education initiatives at the local, state, and national level. So welcome, very warm welcome to our keynote speakers, and this is over to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to get our screen shared here. Just one second. Alrighty. Well, welcome and thank you for that warm introduction. As was mentioned, my name is Rachel Geesa, and I'm here with my fantastic colleague and friend, Krista Stith. And although we're both working at Ball State University with our combined interest in leadership development and STEM education in the PK through 12 range, we've created our own consulting company called STEM Integrations. So we will be talking about our work in regards to that piece. Krista, anything you'd like to share?
No, I think we're ready to go.
All righty. Well, when we're talking about integrative STEM or integrative science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, please know that we are definitely inclusive of the arts and humanities. And we believe that STEM or STEAM curricula can enhance students' capacities in the identity and ability to solve real-world problems, collaborating and communicating with peers, thinking critically about problems and specific situations, analyzing data to be a part of a team of creative problem solvers, and allowing students to exhibit new skills and ideas to ensure that they are career and college ready upon completion of their PK through 12 program. So to give you a bit of idea of the landscape in terms of career and college readiness in STEM and the focus for integrative STEM in the US, we have this graphic which shows that there's a need for STEM careers in the United States. They've identified that there are 26 million jobs required with STEM knowledge and skills. Through assessments, there's achievement in STEM discipline that varies, and we want to make sure that all students are STEM capable, beginning in early childhood. Job selection, a lot of employers and employees are looking for those STEM or STEAM capable students. In higher ed, only 18% of bachelor's degrees are awarded in STEM fields, and a lot of degrees are required for STEM jobs. So 16.4 million jobs require bachelor's degrees or higher ed. And then there's lots of different job opportunities. Even if students aren't interested in pursuing a career to be a scientist or a mathematician, we are moving into a society that is very scientifically and technologically driven, and we want to make sure that those students have all of the skills and competencies they need to be successful. So when we think about having an integrative STEM program or curriculum in a school or educational setting, there are several educational innovators that are involved in that process. So we include school and district level leaders, thinking about teachers, community partners, workforce agencies, and federal and national and local governments and decision makers there. So all of those folks are important to have at the table, in addition to families and students. Getting students feedback and perspectives about their educational program, even in early childhood, is very important.
So one of the conversations that we have a lot in the US is what exactly is STEM? Because you can ask 100 teachers what is STEM and you're going to get 100 different answers. And so we wanted to provide more of a concrete or crystallized approach of what exactly is integrative STEM. And so what we have here is a graphic, and I don't have mouse control, so I apologize. You'll have to just work with me through this. But what we're looking at is content capable. So you may have a student that's very strong in science, a student that's very strong in building, designing, such as in the engineering fields. But what we're trying to get to ultimately is to have a STEM literate student, where a student will be able to build and pick the characteristics, the qualities, and the skills of different disciplines and be able to weave through those disciplines together and able to solve a real world problem. So when we think about STEM or STEAM, oftentimes it's going to be very intradisciplinary. And so it's going to be one discipline and the characteristics within that discipline. As we move over to the right, then we're going to look at integrated STEM or STEAM, where we're going to be able to start weaving these different disciplines together to create a multidisciplinary. So you may have the lens of different disciplines working together to solve a problem, or interdisciplinary, where we're going to have one or two or more of the disciplines that are going to be more cohesive in solving that problem. And then we get into transdisciplinary. And so that's the field that Rachel and I are working towards in building the skills, the content knowledge, and the attitudes of educational leaders of school programs, and to ensure that those individuals will then be able to support a program that will allow a transdisciplinary experience to happen, where we no longer have these separate disciplines, but it's going to be along a full spectrum of disciplines to solve those problems and achieve a sense of STEM literacy in students. However, in our research, there are quite a few challenges to support a program of this nature. So, for example, schedules, because normally what happens in the US, you have the teachers that are working in their content silos. They're working by themselves and in their classrooms. So in a program like this, where you're trying to achieve a transdisciplinary approach, not every person has a strength in every single discipline. You need to have teachers working together. And so an educational leader needs to consider what the schedule would look like to allow for that type of collaboration to plan on what the curriculum should look like. Another big challenge is the resources. Where are the fundings, the materials, and the facilities to have some kind of a transdisciplinary experience? Another one is going to be stakeholder buy-in. So you would need teacher support. Oftentimes, teachers have not received the type of training for transdisciplinary. This could be training in project-based or problem-based or design-based approaches in the classroom. Buy-in from parents, buy-in from students, and from community partners. This is a very different way of teaching and learning, and so you would want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with this very unique approach in preparing students for college and career readiness from a very, very early age. I had mentioned on the teacher training, also thinking about mandates. So in the US, for example, all school programs have a series of mandates that they must be able to fulfill. There is a very high accountability that educational leaders need to think about. So how are you going to be able to innovate teaching and learning within very specific constraints of what is determined to be important for students to learn at this time period? And then lastly, equity. So ensuring that inclusive practices are used so that every single child has an opportunity to pursue and maximize their learning in college and career readiness. So one way to go about this in providing integrative STEM opportunities in the classroom is the design thinking process. And so we're not going to talk too much about the design thinking process, but if you're not familiar with it, it is another creative approach, similar to technology and engineering design, where it's a framework for students to go through a process to solve problems. And so the first step would be empathy, because if you're asking a student to solve a problem, they do need to have a sense of empathy, a sense of stewardship toward an end user. The second step is going to be define. So defining the problem that the student is going to try to solve for an end user. The ideation stage is simply brainstorming. So going through and trying to think of as many possible solutions as possible. From the ideation stage, then they go to prototype and test. So once they choose what solution they would like to pursue, the students are going to construct a tangible artifact or idea and then test it with the end user and then this is going to be an iterative process in order to solve the problem. So one quick way to describe this, there aren't many books out there for children related to design thinking and how to solve problems and thinking about it integratively. So we're going to be able to incorporate many different disciplines. So I ended up writing a children's book to fill that gap that I can use in the classroom. And so with this design thinking activity, we are integrating for early childhood students science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and art. And so I have some pictures here of when we read this book and then asked preschool students and kindergarten students, so students 4, 5, 6 years old, to go through a design thinking activity. So we just took some clips from this book, so it's not the entire story, but ultimately the story is there is an owl that is wet in the rain, and this poor owl does not like to be wet in the rain. It's cold, it's wet, it would like to have someone find a solution so that way it's no longer wet in the rain. So that's really the whole basis of this story. And then you can't see very well here, but that purple arrow is pointing to these children, which are actually my 3 kids. So the children decide we're going to help this owl. They have achieved a level of empathy, and now they want to move forward with solving this problem. So that's the empathy stage and the define stage. At this point, we're going to start thinking the ideate stage. And so the students are going to come up with a bunch of different solutions that they could potentially pursue to solve this problem. So we have a pirate's hat, for instance, and we have a tennis visor. But as they're thinking about these solutions, they're also identifying, well, maybe this may not be the best solution for this end user because XYZ. The owl is still getting wet in the rain. Here's another solution. So an umbrella. Okay, an umbrella would definitely keep the owl dry in the rain. But again, we need to think about the end user. Can an owl use an umbrella? Not very well. And so the students have to continuously think about, okay, well, that solution would work for me, but it may not necessarily work for the owl. So full transparency, they choose a raincoat. It's going to be the solution. But again, they have to continue tailoring that solution because a raincoat that works for me may not necessarily work for an owl. So they're going to have to continue tinkering and thinking about that solution. So then we had the students recreate their own activity. So I had these little foam owls and I gave the students raw materials. So they had chenille stems, which they used to call them pipe cleaners, aluminum foil, foam, feathers, a lot of different materials that the students were able to work with. And then in that middle picture, we have a colander. So it was a little blue bowl that had some holes in it. So we would pour water through to simulate rain. And so we were able to think about ways to keep these little foam owls dry in the rain. And we went through a lot of iterations. The middle picture here, the student wrapped up the owl like a little potato. And okay, that worked. The owl was dry in the rain, but can the owl see? Can the owl fly? And so then the student had to go back and think about that solution. And again, how to tailor it for the owl. And so this was one of the students' final solutions. And so they had an artistic scarf that they felt to really have the owl feel self-confident. But they did think about a raincoat and thinking about the owl being able to see. So this was one solution that they felt pretty strongly that this was solving the end user's issue of staying wet. Of getting wet in the rain.
Excellent. Thank you, Krista. So that's a wonderful example of how we can encourage the design thinking process with early childhood and creative thinking within that space. We also wanted to share our findings in terms of leadership responsibilities in integrative STEM or STEAM education programs. Both Krista and I have been doing research in this field for several years now, and we actually will have a book that's published next year related specifically to these key responsibilities that leaders should be looking at. But we've identified through a series of studies, which include surveys, interviews, observations, and site visits, that leaders for integrative STEM need to have innovational, organizational, instructional, and social responsibilities. And we're going to go over some of those domains right now. So within the organizational responsibility, we believe that leaders must foster a mission and culture that is positive in learning related to integrative STEM, and it should be inclusive of all students and school stakeholders, to include community and industry partners. Within the infrastructure of an educational program, there should be space for creating and resources and funding available for STEM or STEAM. That would include buying different types of materials, purchasing various technologies, computer applications, but also having guest speakers and buying books. For professional learning needs to be ongoing. So some may know professional learning as professional development, but we believe professional learning is an ongoing process, and all teachers, regardless if they're experts in STEM or STEAM or not, should be involved in that process. And then educational leaders ultimately are responsible for program evaluation and also teacher evaluation. So making sure that the programs are moving along in a way that students are learning and growing, and also that teachers feel supported. Within innovational responsibility, of course, creative thinking is so important. We believe that that is a critical skill for our 21st century learners across the board. And so through creative thinking, we believe that students should be solving real-world problems. They should be given authentic problems to solve, but they should also identify problems to solve. Entrepreneurialism is critical, so folks should have autonomy to think differently, to create, to build, and to identify solutions. And then collaboration. So not only students, but teachers should be collaborating in multiple ways and working in teams. Co-teaching is something that we strongly believe is a great skill for educators to have at all grade levels. Within the instructional responsibility, we focus on curriculum, instruction, assessment, and programs. So within curriculum, we believe that curriculum needs to be timely, it needs to be relevant, And it needs to be integrative. So that requires, when we think about instruction, teachers and leaders need to think about unique ways for folks to collaborate, to co-plan, co-teach, share knowledge and expertise, to ensure that students have multiple opportunities in solving problems and thinking creatively. With assessments, not only are assessments tests or quizzes, but there should be portfolios and journals and multiple types of formative assessments that are done through observations and discussions with students. And then within programming, to really foster an integrative STEM program, there are going to be some changes in terms of thinking about scheduling and identifying types of courses you want to offer, or what are the key focuses for that year. And then with social responsibility, as always, equity and inclusion is a critical focus in our education program. So we want to make sure that all students have opportunities to explore and discover and experience success in STEM or STEAM education. Community engagement is critical as folks work with schools, and when schools work with community or industry partners, we want to make sure that they're sustainable relationships. So it's not a one and done type thing where a community partner comes in and does a lecture in a class or does one activity, but it's a more ongoing partnership where students feel like they are a part of the greater community in which they live. And stakeholder involvement. So that goes with community engagement as well, but within stakeholder involvement, thinking about leadership teams, making sure that students, parents, community members, and leaders have a voice in the decisions that are being made and in the vision and mission of where they're going in terms of their children's education. And then extended learning opportunities. So not only should integrative STEM and STEAM happen during the school day, but these opportunities should occur before school, after school, in the summer, and on the weekends in various ways through clubs, other organizations, or activities that the school has identified. So in conclusion, we're going to leave you with 3 key items to think about in leading integrative STEM or STEAM education in early childhood. 1, leaders and educators should foster flexible learning environments that encourage risk and innovation. 2, learning should not be in content silos, but should be project, design, or problem-based to support the learning. And 3, collaboration amongst teachers and community partners and educational leaders is critical. So here's our contact information. You are welcome to reach out to us at any time. And also, if you're interested, you may purchase Krista's book on Amazon. And thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Rachel and Dr. Krista, I am just like blown away with this presentation, and I love the owl experiment, and I love that in this kind of segment you have brought the social responsibility. I think that's like really, really awesome and thoughtful that there should be equity and inclusion, that nobody should be left out when they're learning these innovative concepts. So I think this is like a fantastic note. And I would like to see the team if they have any questions from the audience that you're still going to answer. So would you kindly look at the chat box and would you kindly take the questions, because we still have like good 3 minutes before we let you go. So Dr. Rachel or Dr. Krista, any of you could take the questions from the audience. It is in the chat box, please. So I think there's a question from Ligiolo. I'm a geography teacher. What are the conditions to implement STEM at my school? The students are between 11 and 16 years.
I think the first thing is teacher collaboration. So identifying other teachers to collaborate with and identifying some real world problems to solve. So looking at the curriculum, looking at the standards, and then identifying some other teachers who are willing and able to work with you, or talking with your school leader to see if some community partners can come in and build those partnerships as well. So conditions to implement STEM are, one, it needs to be integrative. So you want to make sure that you are finding ways to build capacity in multiple disciplines. Two, you want to make sure that you're still meeting whatever state or local standards are there. So following those guidelines, but also identifying real world problems to solve and providing various opportunities for students to take risks, to be creative, and to think critically in that space.
I will ask one of my questions, and this is one topic that has been recently interesting me. So do you think when we are doing such projects, parent engagement or parent volunteer to come and be a part of this helps out? What is your experience about that?
So the family school community partnership is a very important framework, and I'm saying this as an educator and as a parent, because the parents can also provide a very unique lens to the integrative STEM programming, not only as perhaps an expert in a particular area, but also providing feedback on the social emotional learning, the behavioral wellness. So having that parent piece really is a critical component of helping the overall thriving of a child.
Sure, because like children don't have an on and off switch. They are not just creative in the school. They are creative all the time. They can be creative on the weekend. So parent involvement in inculcating STEM at an early age can go a long way. Right. Mm-hmm. All right. So Dr. Krista and Dr. Rachel, thank you so much. And I think it was a very, very good session. And thanks a lot again for joining from US. And we really, really appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much. I now take the opportunity to bring back Shireen with us. And Shireen is going to talk to us about Finnish education and much more. Welcome back, Shireen.
Thanks, Simran. And thanks, Rachel and Krista, for the insightful presentation. So now I'm taking you all to Finland. I am sitting here in Finland, and now I want you also to come here with me to see the nice fall colors. So I will start my presentation in a moment. So when we are talking about the Finnish early childhood education, we just need to look at this structure of the Finnish education. And if you see at the very base, it is written early childhood education for the ages 1 to 7. And the preschool education begins here at the age of 6. So we will go into a little bit of detail. So in Finland, the education, like the early childhood education, is not only about education, but it is also about care. So it is called as edu-care model. And it starts from age 1 if required. So most of the times the mothers here are working. So they normally get a maternity leave of 1 year, which starts before the delivery, like 1 month before the delivery or 4 weeks before the delivery. And it continues till the baby is kind of 11 months old. So it starts, the daycare can start from the age 1. Now, it is very important to understand that when we are talking about the early childhood education, in Finland, it doesn't mean for reading, writing, or any such kind of activity. But the care part is mainly there first, and then along with the care, they also provide the learning environment where the child would like to learn on his own. So there is no formal teaching and learning kind of thing till preschool. They are mainly doing group activities together. They are playing together, and they are learning a lot through play. I will tell you more about the peculiarities in the next slide. But here is the little bit of the structure. So the early childhood education is voluntary until age 6. And it is paid but subsidized, depends on the family income, as Finland is known for its social welfare state. The prenatal care is also taken by the Nevola, that is a system here for the prenatal care. And preschool for 1 year after 6 years. In preschool also, it is not expected all the students to read and write yet, but we still teach them the pre-literacy, pre-numeracy skills. And if someone wants to write, we won't stop them, but it is not a kind of a forceful writing or reading. The basic structure of a daycare, it has like one daycare director, and normally the student-teacher ratio is 4:1 below age 3 and 7:1 above age 3. Normally there are 3 adults in a group, 1 or 2 teachers and 1 or 2 nurses. So this is very brief about the structure. Finland has changed its curriculum in 2016, and these are the transversal competencies we are looking at. And if you look at these are all mainly with the goal that development as a human being and as a citizen. So that's why they have all these kinds of transversal competencies. There are 7 in all. And then there are learning areas for the early childhood education. There are 5 learning areas in the Finnish early childhood education, which are related to the transversal competencies. Now, what are the other peculiarities, like considering the pedagogy? So, basically, you can say that the Finnish early childhood education is based on social constructivism. They look at the social emotional development of the child, learning by playing or experiential learning. Learning life skills are important. Collaborative learning is very well encouraged, and non-formal learning or nature interaction has been a important pedagogy that they are using here in some of the schools. So here is a short video and about the forest pedagogy. Great. So this was like, I just wanted you to, give a glimpse about how it happens here related to the forest pedagogy, and you all are welcome to Finland to see it in practice once the corona goes away. And then to learn about all these things in detail, CCE has made some kind of courses like this one. Diploma in Early Childhood Education. It's an online course. It's for 3 months, and it's a combination of theory and practical knowledge because it has an internship, and you have to do this kind of internship in your local context, in your local daycares. This program is very popular, I would say, and we have already got students from 40 plus countries for this course. In one of our batches, there were 17 different nationalities participated in this course. So it's a combination of theoretical knowledge about cognitive, motor, psychological, and social development of children from 0 to 6 years. And you, of course, get a certificate of completion. Some of the people have also got the jobs in their areas, but it depends on the person who are employing you. And when Rachel and Krista, they were talking about being a leader. So that is very much followed in Finland. So teacher is considered as a leader, because here the education is very much trust based. So trust is a foundation of education. So the society trusts the teachers, the parents trust the teachers, the principal trust the teachers, and that's why they have the autonomy. So because everybody think that the teachers know what they are doing and they know at its best. Like I have written here, you might have heard this word SISU. So SISU is like, they say that where perseverance ends, then SISU starts. So it's the kind of quality, it's a Finnish culture that the people are very much determined, and so are the teachers. So they will see to it that every stone should be turned for learning. So every child should get an equal opportunity for learning. So that's why they will use all kinds of methods when they are teaching the child and basically helping the child for learning. So here in Finland, we don't talk about teaching much, but we talk a lot about learning all the time. And the collaboration is very much promoted at all levels, like the teacher-teacher level, as Rachel was mentioning, co-teaching. So it happens a lot in Finland. Teacher-student collaboration, teachers and parents, as we discussed also earlier, and then the teacher-school head. And not only that, but the collaboration also spread across the community. And we also have here, reading grandmas and reading grandpas. So they go to the school, they go to the daycares, and they read with the small kids. And the kids really love these kinds of sessions. And so there is actually a difference between the administrative leadership and the pedagogical leadership. So in Finland, they have defined this word pedagogical leadership at a much greater level. And we also are offering this course program in pedagogical leadership. So Kari Lohivori, who is our colleague, and he is an ex-principal of a well-known Finnish school here. So he talks about different types of leadership with very practical examples. And there are a lot of live interaction in this course. So if you are interested in knowing more about it, please have a look at it. And then as our response to the COVID-19, we have developed this course, that early childhood education, like organizing early childhood education in new normal. So it's about how you will convert your ongoing physical preschool into online one. So for that, this course will help you. It's a self-paced course of 5 sessions with some practical assignments, and a lot of tools are given there and how to use the technology. And CCE is starting its own preschool. It will be called as SISU preschool, and we are offering demo classes on 26th October, 28th October, and 30th October. So you can go and register your child for the demo classes on any of these days. It will be there from 10 to 11 Finland time. So kindly make a note at your end. And now I'm at the end of my presentation. So thanks a lot for patiently listening. I know there is so much that we can discuss about the Finnish early childhood education. But currently, considering the time constraint, I would like to stop here. And please feel free to contact us. These are the contact details you are seeing in front of you on the screen. Kindly write to us, subscribe to our channel. You can also put messages on our Facebook page and we will be happy to answer. So thanks, and I warmly welcome you all to visit Finland. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Shireen. I can't wait to come to Finland myself, and I'm sure in the audience everybody is feeling the same. So very well, crisply and nicely explained what is the Finnish education system, what it is all about, and I'm sure my audience will join me in saying thank you for educating us on this part. A lot of us just knew few tips and bits here. So, all right, thanks a lot, Shireen. For this information, and of course I hope all the parents on this forum watching us have noted the dates of SISU preschool going online. What a wonderful way to make your child a global citizen by enrolling in this program. They are sitting right here at any part of the country and or the globe, and they can still get the best out of the Finnish system. So great initiative, and I hope we keep hearing more of what CCE is doing differently in this segment. So let's now move on to our next segment, and let's quickly welcome our next presenter, who's going to talk about enriching psychological development for preschool children, and she's going to present her case study. So before she does that, let's quickly introduce her. All right, so put your hands together for Koijum Sobita Devi. Dr. Koijum is MSc in Human Development, Master of Arts in Education, Master of Education, and PhD. She's at present working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Teacher Education, Manipur University, Manipur, India. She has 24 years of teaching experience. She has presented a good number of papers in national and international conferences and seminars. She has also published articles and research works in national and international journals. She is also the author of Child Rearing in Manipur, Metis, Muslims and Tribes. She has been teaching human development, early childhood care, and education childhood and growing up, education psychology, assessment for learning, interesting, education in contemporary India, guidance and counseling. She has high interest in creativity and exploratory activities. Put your hands together and a very warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Over to you. You can present your deck, please.
Ma'am, is it visible, ma'am?
Not yet. Let's give it a few seconds. It's not visible. Yes, it's coming up. Yeah.
Is it okay, ma'am?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Here it is evening in India, so wishing you all a very good evening. The entire organizing team, CCE Finland, learned speakers, parents, teachers, and scholars, and whoever individuals who are interested in taking care for children and love children. So once again, a very good evening to all of you. This particular topic, embracing psychosocial development for preschool children case study. So this topic comes in my mind when this worldwide COVID-19 pandemic lockdown has started, and thinking in my mind that children could not go to in any kind of institution, and because in the school, when they go to school, they interact with the peers and they enjoy with their peers, and the through playway method they learn everything about the physical development, social development, emotional development, intellectual, in any aspect of all-round development they receive from the school. But due to lockdown, they could not go to institutions. So what I feel is that how they are spending at their homes, and how their parents and elders and the caregivers providing them what kind of care and support is provided for them, and whether they have all-round development at this during this pandemic lockdown. So I started taking up this case study. And here, what we think is that many of the psychologists, as well as many of the research findings, found that children need love, care, support, and opportunities in order to develop self-confidence, creative, and a sense of initiative. The developments in the formative years of children lays the foundation of future behavior and personality. Positive environment enhances the development of exploration, creative thinking, problem solving abilities, and all round development in physical, mental, emotional, social, etc. And disciplining styles and opportunities provided by parents and caregivers are also important factors of child's personality. And Erickson's first, second, and third stages of psychosocial theory describes the development of trust, autonomy, and initiative if children find successful resolutions of the conflicts, which marks the beginning of self-control and self-confidence. And again, psychosocial status is an important aspect of child development which influences the self esteem and self actualization of the child. And during this COVID 19 lockdown, children cannot go to any early childhood care centers where they usually find basic learning, socialization, and happiness through playway activities with their peers. And the present study aims to investigate the care and opportunities provided to the preschoolers by the parents and the caregivers at home to inculcate positive psychosocial development during COVID-19 lockdown. And there are certain importance for this study that children in difficult circumstances, like what we are facing now for the COVID-19 pandemic, and are vulnerable and are prone to engage in unacceptable, harmful behaviors that hampers their positive growth and development as responsible individuals. So children are the futures of the nation, and it is extremely important to address their psychosocial needs in different circumstances to ensure holistic development. Confining children during this COVID 19 lockdown exposes the children to risks of mental health and the again adverse cultural and social practices, beliefs, political situations, and economic factors of the particular region may add to the problem also. And children may feel confused and at loss with the situation, leading to frustration and anxiety. And sometimes parents may struggle to find ways to let the children understand about the situation, and this will add to frustration again. And again, children also access to different kinds of information and news through social media. Some of them may not be factually true, causing further more stress and anxiety for those families that are subjected to quarantine or isolation. There may be an increased risk of violence and abuse on children as stress levels go up for adults. Thus, the present study, which aimed to investigate the care and opportunities provided to preschoolers by the parents and the caregivers at home to inculcate positive psychosocial development during COVID-19 lockdown, as an important study during this pandemic situation. The objective was to find out the care and opportunities provided to preschool children to improve the psychosocial development during COVID-19 lockdown. And regarding the limitation of the study is limited to the urban areas of Imphal West district of Manipur, India, and the study is confined only with normal children. And regarding the methodology, an observation schedule was provided to the parents to collect information for the activities done by the children for a week. And another observation schedule also used to record activities when I observed them through WhatsApp video call, photographs and videos also taken by the parents during observation. Regarding the sample, the case study was conducted on 6 parents along with their children who are between 3 to 6 years of Imphal West District, Manipur, India, selected out of 25 parents through telephonic interviews, giving due emphasis to normal children and parents with willingness to involve in the study. And regarding the data collection, it was very interesting that during this COVID-19 lockdown, then I could not get the permission to visit and observe children. So I requested all selected parents to note down the activities done by the children daily for a period of 1 week. And further, I requested to take photographs and videos for the children during play and activity time. And the parents were provided me maximum help to collect information, and I had the opportunity to observe children through WhatsApp video call for a few hours every alternate day. And the parents provided me videos and photographs, and based on the information collected, the care, support, and the opportunities provided by the parents for their children were categorized as psychosocial, cognitive, and physical. Activities related to psychosocial development, parents inform them that their children are doing this following activities like helping mother in kitchen works like vegetable cutting, making dough, cleaning utensils, keeping things in proper places, preparing simple dishes, clean up toys, taking care and watering plants and flowers, pretend play, imitation, singing, playing together, eating together, making house corner, hair combing, batting, taking care of younger siblings and older members in the family, narrating stories by the elder members in the family, and appreciating and encouraging for any creative work and ideas given by the preschoolers, and again learning for self-management like keeping toys, books, dresses, household items in proper places, etc. So such kind of activities, parents and the caregivers, they are helping the children preschoolers at their home to involve in such kind of activities so that it will be very helpful for them to improve their psychosocial development, and that there is no way to have a feeling of loneliness, depression, and anxiety also. And the activities related to cognitive development are block building, puzzle matching, keeping things in appropriate places, involving in simple problem solving activities, and asking them for suggestion also. So it's a kind of the development of self-confidence, self-esteem, because when there is a problem in the family and that they try to involve the preschool children to solve in the problem solving activities, and their suggestions are also welcome. It is very useful. And the use of simple computer application, learning stitching, preparing toys out of waste materials, etc. And activities relating to physical development are cycling, skipping, dancing, yoga, swinging, running, practicing martial arts, gardening, etc. So these are the activities preschool children are doing at their home with the help of the elders and their parents and caregivers during this lockdown to improve their psychosocial development in different activities involving the creativity work and the cognitive work as well as for the physical development, because physical development is also very important aspect, because without proper physical development we cannot develop mentally, emotionally, socially. So here I collected some photographs here. This is about the watering the plant one of the sample, and this is about the cleaning the toys, and this is about the eating together with the grandmother, and the learning about the computer application from the brother, taking care of the younger sibling, and then taking care of the plant with the grandmother. And this is about the imitation. This particular preschool child is trying to put lipstick, just imitating from her mother. It is a way of learning socialization. And this is about enjoying in front of the mirror. This is about the study time. And they are preparing a toy house here and then putting the colors on the cardboards. It's a part of creative work. it improves the cognitive development also. And this is the playtime, and they are using the colors and they are drawing in different steps, whichever they want. And the mother is narrating stories to the children. And this particular child is taking care for the great-grandmother. And this is about these two children, they're practicing martial arts. And this is about the yoga. And all the parents reported that at least this few minutes they involve them to practice in yoga. It is a good exercise to maintain for the mental health as well as physical health. And this is about their activity time, play time, dancing. This is about dancing. They happily dance. And here about their just trying to make some puzzles, adjustment of the puzzles. And mother also helping in preparing their toy house. And this is about the potting at their home. They really enjoy it. And this is about learning for stitching, threading. They are making garlands out of collected flowers from their home. And again, it is making of toy house, computer learning. And they are making some creative work here. This particular preschool girl, with the help of the brother, cycling, and they are enjoying for hide and seek. And the skipping also they practice. Parents reported, and they send all these photographs. And every day they are practicing martial arts. So for this particular study method, that as the collected information was based on qualitative data through observation, the data was analyzed in narrative form. And regarding the application, what can we do is during this COVID-19 lockdown, children are confined at home and do not get the opportunity to go to any institution where they usually find basic learning, socialization, and happiness through interaction and play with their peers. In this present case study, it is found that the care, support, and opportunities provided by the parents towards their children during COVID-19 lockdown are very helpful to improve their psychosocial development without suffering from any anxiety, tension, distress, loneliness, etc. And the children are really enjoyed during this lockdown also because parents provided enough opportunity, support, and care for them. So this information will be very helpful for other parents in helping their children for all-round development during this situation. So I express my sincere thanks to all the parents for rendering their valuable time and support for the study, and also very thankful to the organizing team of the conference CCE Finland for giving me opportunity to express my interest, love, and care for children. And at last, I would like to convey that the role of the parents or caregivers is to promote an environment where children can grow up and develop their full potential, having fun and being safe and healthy. Parents need to facilitate an environment where children are listened to. They can express their thoughts and feelings and are free to ask any question and are answered honestly. Help children to make them happy and productive, feel and understand their needs, love and care them for a better society. Thank you.
Well, what can I say? I am tongue-tied. This is so phenomenal, and Doctor, what you have presented is still holding true in many countries, in many locations, in many households. So though the lockdown is primarily taken off by the government of many countries, a lot of people are still confined to their home areas. And this study, this research, these tips is going to help so many parents out there to understand what they can do differently with their children. And it is very, very inspiring with little what all can be done with our children, even though they are in a confined environment. So I thank you and I applaud you for such a wonderful study and presenting all the pictures. I mean, that was remarkable. Yes, I of course applaud the parents who helped you in this study too, because it takes a lot not only to get those things done back in the peak of pandemic, and also sending you these pictures and doing what was asked to do. So yes, really appreciate the entire team which helped you create this case study and present it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right, so I want to see if there are any audience questions that we need to take at this moment. Yeah, or maybe we will take that later. Yes, and I want to remind my audience here that we are going to see you tomorrow. And if first day is such a enriching and enjoyable, imagine what next 2 days hold. And we are going to talk a lot about such case studies, and we are going to talk a lot about the innovations and the research that is happening in this area. And what is our contribution and what is the future looking like for CCE Finland, as we spoke about the ECE school, SISU online preschools and everything else. So I think this is a very, very innovative. I'm seeing the comments on the Facebook and YouTube, and we are very encouraged. And as I said, I thank each one of audience member, the presenters, for their time, because this is what you're investing with us, and we hope that we are doing justice to your time that you're spending with us. So it is time to introduce our next segment. We are going to talk about initial review of the literature on creativity and COVID-19 pandemic, implications and propositions for alternate ways of educating. Very interesting. And let's talk about who is going to present this study today. Let's quickly look at that. And it is Federica Villa, and you're from one of my favorite places, Italy. Federica is a PhD student in education in contemporary society at the University of Milano Bicocca, Italy, and primary school teacher. Her research interests are in creative learning, creative teaching, and the relationship between creativity and outdoor education from a socio-cultural perspective. She is a member of the editorial board of an Italian pedagogical journal. So a very, very warm welcome. I would request all of you to imagine that we are in a big auditorium sitting together, and let's put a big round of applause for Federica.
Thank you.
And joining her today is Monica Guerrera. Monica Guerrera is a pedagogist, is a researcher and a lecturer at the Department of Human Sciences of Education, Riccardo Massa of the University of Milan Bicocca, interested in the role of the school as an instrument of change. She deals in particular with innovative models of school and learning contexts in and outdoors. She is the founding president of Culture Association Bambani A. Natura. I hope I did justice to the pronunciation. A very, very warm welcome, Monica and Federica. We welcome you.
Thank you, Simran, for your introduction, and thanks all the other panelists for all the insightful presentation. Hi, everyone. I am very happy to connect with you today. I'm going to share with you my screen. I hope it works.
Yes, it is. Perfect.
Okay, great. So as mentioned, I am Federica Valeria Villa, primary school teacher and PhD student from the University of Milano Bicocca in Italy. And I collaborate with Professor Monica Guerra, who is a pedagogist and associate professor of the Department of Human Sciences for Education, but she couldn't be here today. So as the title said, I'm going to introduce an initial review of the literature on creativity and COVID-19 pandemic, with the aim of tracing implications and propositions for alternative ways of educating. To introduce our work, you need to know that my doctoral research project is about the relationship between creativity and outdoor education at primary school level. But of course, the outbreak of the pandemic has stopped my fieldwork. And for this reason, we ask ourselves what was happened to creativity in that very moment. During the lockdown, we saw lots of creativity spreading to social media, especially amongst teachers and educators who were trying to reach children at home. And this question brings us to operate this review. Before starting, I think it might be helpful and interesting sharing with you what creativity is for us and why it's so important in education. Well, we truly believe in what research and evidence have been shown for some time now, that creativity is an essential element in daily and professional life. Many educational systems around the world recognize and include creativity in educational policies as an indispensable skill for children. At the same time, studies also report teachers and educators' difficulties to support creativity into their daily practices because of the pressure to achieve national and international standards, the lack of training on creative teaching, or its placement only within your curricula. But another thing we do know from research is that children's preschool experiences have a strong impact on their future skill, and the development and support of creativity are particularly valuable in early childhood as a foundational skill upon which young children can learn. Educating creativity is a challenge, and it is strictly dependent on how adults think about their own creativity and that of children, within the relationship that Jeffrey and Kraft found in teaching creatively and teaching for creativity. The other statements we do believe in are that everyone has creative potential and that creativity is a sociocultural act because, as Glavino said in different articles, each creation, an idea, a product, an action, is an act deeply embedded in the material and social world that allows and limits the action itself. And the actor involved in this process explores the possibilities offered by the surrounding environment to discover new ones or to create objects, generating thus creative productions. The outbreak of the pandemic has undermined all these points, and every educational system around the world had to adjust goals and practices with the evolution of the situation. We heard the word creativity in the discussions among educators, and it is rapidly because it rapidly becomes search for alternatives to reach children in some ways, even the youngest one in their homes. In this situation, we were aimed at exploring the literature on creativity published from January to August 2020, time of the review process, in order to identify what discussions and thoughts have been produced. The search was conducted in a period of exit of the first wave from COVID-19 in Italy, but still worried for possible others. So we conducted the search on 3 databases selected for their relevance in education: EBSCO, Educational Research Complete, ProQuest, Education Collection, and ERIC. And the search was conducted by using the keywords creativity and COVID-19 or coronavirus. The search criteria included peer-reviewed articles only, sorted by the most relevant ones and within the educational field. We had different results for each database, 21 from EBSCO, 13 from ProQuest, and just 1 from ERIC. An in-depth reading of these 35 articles allowed us to remove duplicates, studies out of our focus, for example, on secondary education, university, or medical studies, and studies without full text available. In order to be discussed together, the residual 6 papers have been grouped into a generic group with 3 articles on creativity in relation to the pandemic at a general level, helpful to contextualize the situation, a specific group with 2 papers focused on a specific aspect that connect the topics, and 1 article on a focused group because it has a specific focus on early childhood. All these studies were qualitative in nature in form of essays, interview, and experience reports. Half of them come from the first continent hit by the pandemic, Asia. A couple came from the US, and 1 is undeclared. The 3 articles in the generic group picture a positive perspective between creativity and the pandemic, even if they do not forget the negative side that this situation had and still has on the whole humanity. From previous studies, we do know that the impulse to a creative thought or action can arise from an emergency, the existence of a problem, and from the need to find solutions. In this sense, these articles have tried to interpret the pandemic situation in the light of the opportunities it has brought, such as the first pull-out from routines and the frenzy of everyday life. Also, the pandemic prompted reflection on habitual patterns of thinking, experiences, relating, and behaving, by calling into question what people used to take for granted. The lockdown had paradoxically opened up to new possibilities for constructively confronting, creatively responding to, and transcending the challenge. And the cultivation of freedom, or the freedom to be, in the first phase of forced isolation, allowed to reconsider the latent creative potential that exists in everyone. The 2 Asian studies recognize creativity in the actions and responses of the population to these tragic events, and it is seen as the proper response to anxiety, not medication. So a kind of creativity that also dwells in the discovery of meanings, even if they are come from situation of suffering. In the specific group, we placed 2 studies on distance learning, which on the one hand was described in terms of difficulties, such as the resistance from adults and the risk of isolation, but on the other hand, it was described in terms of opportunities to open up new possibilities of interaction and creativity for teachers, educators, and children. Only one study was focused on the topic of creativity and early childhood during the pandemic. It was a planned interview with the Professor Sandra Ross on play and creativity, unintentionally carried out in the time of the emergency. She used to define creativity related to play, and in that very specific moment, she said that play and creativity expression are important for the mental and emotional health of all ages, in particular during difficult situations like this one. So she suggested that every open-ended and flexible games, from video games to more practical ones, could give a chance for children to use their imagination to support creativity. The role of parents, the only educational figures at that time, were crucial, and they could be playmates, promoters, or observers of their children's play. She also suggested that the support of this kind of play could become a natural way for children to process what was going on. The continuous evolution of the pandemic situation around the world and its unpredictability implies a continuous rethinking of practices, theories, and ways to support creativity even at a distance with young children. This brief research illustrates still premature literature on the subject, which needs further study and consideration. However, from these few studies, it clearly emerges that creativity is a constant element that characterizes everyone every day, even in situations of greatest discomfort. It is evident that creativity is a social and cultural factor, and it didn't only lead to new inventions or progress in a positive way, but it did also support the way in which people relate to the world, to others, and themselves, making them more flexible, more open to the new and the unexpected. And even in unarguably negative consequences on the physical and mental health of many due to the outbreak of the pandemic, a positive impact exists. These points provide new and substantial insights for education to include creativity as a fundamental value and skill since the very early childhood. And in these days, new studies came up on these topics, and we will look forward to reading them soon as we can to continuously update this review. Thank you so much for your attention, and please feel free to contact us.
All right, Dr. Frederica, superb. So well put, and there is a possibility of positivity and creativity in pandemic also. What a very innovative thought, and we thank you for your time. Thanks a lot for being with us from Italy all the way, and a big round of applause. Thank you so much. All right.
Simran, you are on mute.
Sorry. I hope our audience. I got so excited in saying what I was saying. I hope our audience is with us and enjoying every bit of it as we are. And there is a lot to learn. There are so much insightful conversations, presentations, and research. And without wasting any time, I would like to go into our next segment, which is my preschool segment, which is going to be presented by Pawar School in Bombay. And I would request them to introduce themselves for a minute and talk to us about what they're presenting. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Ma'am? Yeah, okay, fine. Thank you. I was just waiting for you to start. Thank you for the opportunity provided to us. And I greet everybody with a traditional namaste. I believe this namaste has been made popular world over by COVID. Without wasting much time, while Uttara opens up the presentation, I would like to clarify one thing. There are 7 branches of Pawar Public School, and my branch is Pawar Public School, Kandivali, located in Mumbai, India. I'm Dr. Pramila Kodwa. I'm the principal of the school, and I shall be making the presentation along with Uttara Abhyankar, who is my colleague. Thank you, ma'am. Just give me a 2 minute. I'm trying to share. It's not happening, right? Should I try? Give me a minute, ma'am. I think I should be able to. While she's doing that, let me just give a brief overview of what we do at school. So when the presentation starts, we'll be able to save some time. Not all schools in India are able to look into what we are talking about, because pre-primary does not come under, it does not have an authority, an organization which looks into what the pre-primary does. Okay, the presentation is open. This is my school located at Kandivali, Mumbai, India. Next slide, please. I'll briefly run you through the salient features of our child-centered curriculum. Now, we use thematic integration. Now, everybody knows what themes are. Everybody knows what integration is. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But I have an example here. Let's go back, Uttara. I have an example here, underwater forest. Now, this is the theme. And science, math, language, art and craft, music, dance, everything is integrated into this. Let me take you through some examples. Next slide. Sea urchins are made from the dough, and toothpicks are inserted into it by the children, so they look like sea urchins. Now, the drawing here, there is a sea urchin, kelp. They've drawn the kelp. They've drawn the squid. They've drawn the octopus, and they've colored it. Let's go to the next. Next, please. Yeah. This is my favorite. What you see are the 2 otters, Mama otter and the baby otter. And I will read what's written here. The otters sleep holding hand so that they don't get lost. Babies hold mama's hand, babies hold daddy's hand when they walk so they don't get lost. And that's related to the otters. And the mother otter teaches the baby otter to swim and to break clam. They've related their life experience to the otter. This is one of my favorite. Next. I've changed the theme here. The children are using AB pattern to make 1 leaf and 1 flower. And in the next slide, you see the child making a toran. Toran is a door hanging, which is put up during the festival season in India. The colloquial name for that is the toran. Don't shift it so quickly, Uttara, I will tell you. All right, ma'am. That's fine. That's fine. Let's go ahead. Next. Yeah. Now, this is another concept where they're doing math using frogs. I have 2 frogs. How many more will I require if I want a total of 5? Addition. We have 12 frogs. If 6 hop away, how many are left? Subtraction. So they're all sitting down and they're all counting. Next. Contextualization, where the teacher is permitted to use the relevant transactional process to relate the theme. Not all schools do this, mind you. Now, just one example let me give you. I've got another one which is a favorite of mine. From the main gate to the entrance of the school building, there is a long walk. In the mornings, when the children came in, along with these little babies, there were older children who would be walking, and these children would get a little lost. So we came up with the idea of putting little footsteps from the gate to the entrance. And the children would, initially we had to direct them to walk on the footsteps. And one incident that happened, I was standing on the footstep, talking to a mother, because I'm at the gate during entrance every day. So I was talking to one parent. One small hand comes and taps my leg. I look down and there's my little nursery baby. Principal ma'am, please move. I have to walk. So I had to move from there because I was standing on the steps. Next. Free play. Every day the children would come and they are permitted to go to any corner where the free play is assigned to the children. The teacher is a mere observer. Teacher does not interfere. The children have the free play in the word, just as the word means free, it is free. The child does what she or he wants to do. Next slide. There are different activities. Activities could be blocks, painting, jigsaw puzzles, or plain dollhouse. What the teacher does is, the teacher observes the child. If the child is continuously going to one particular play area, after a few days, the teacher gently directs the child and takes the child back to another section where the child will be able to learn something different. So the teacher's role here is being a spectator and to guide the child to another activity where there is a need. Let's go ahead. Social constructivism. I heard one of the earlier speakers talk about this. Vygotsky. He is a Russian-born American psychologist, I believe. And according to him, the knowledge comes based on culture and language. So a lot of conversation, lot of interaction is what we look at. Next. So this is what they do. There is so much of interaction. They are listening to the seashells. They are washing their toys. Let's go to the next, which is my favorite. Farm Workers Appreciation Day. They all came dressed as farm workers. They all made vegetables and fruits beforehand. They set up a farmer's outlet where they sold their produce. And the parents, dressed as parents, children dressed as parents, came there to buy the vegetables and the fruits. In India, what normally happens is, you go to a stall to buy, you bargain. So they were haggling. And this one boy here, whom you can see, he got irritated. And he said, look, in my shop, there's going to be no bargaining. And look at the happiness on the faces. It was one of the most enjoyable activities that we had. Next, spiraling. The spiraling involves using the new knowledge based on the past knowledge that the child already has. Now, this spiraling depends on moving from known to the unknown, moving from simple to the complex, and the difficulty level rises as we keep revisiting the concept again and again. I have another example here for you. That's also another one which is very dear to me. The children learnt about land animals. They also learnt about aquatic animals. And what do you think they did? They made a Venn diagram. And in the Venn diagram, you can see the animals which can work, which can live on land, and animals which can live in the water. They just found out the common characteristics and they put them in the middle. You can see them doing it there. I think I'm done. Now I'll hand it over to Uttara to take it forward. And it's difficult to speak for 10 minutes when there is so much more we can talk about. Uttara, all yours.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be part of this conference. So coming back to the project that we sent you all, this is the title of our project, Nature's Classroom. And this is our ongoing project since last 3 years. These were the phases that we had. The first phase is the butterfly garden. Excuse me. The second phase is the indoor fairy garden. Third phase was the survey of plants around us. And fourth was the vegetable patch. And the last one, which we currently are doing, is the rock garden. Our main aim was to create environmental awareness and understanding, respect for nature, and to create a basic foundation on managing our natural resources. We also used the inquiry cycle of Kate Murdoch, and this is how we went about it. So our first phase was the butterfly garden. So initially we needed to identify the plants which would attract the butterflies. The first step of our cycle of inquiry was tuning in. That means we had to gauge our students' interest and attitudes and give them an opportunity to communicate what they knew. The second step was finding out, and over here you can see everybody with a magnifying sheet trying to discover new information. The third step was sorting out. The students were given their coloring boxes and their paper, and they went around and took a note of whatever they saw. Now, what was left was the survey of plants around us. So that is how we started, by involving the children, letting them sit in the outdoor play area in the compound and writing down whatever they saw. We went a little further and we asked them to investigate whatever they found. Over here, you can see there are tiny jamuns or the berries which have fallen down from the tree, and they are holding the right ones. And that is how they compared what they had found. Our second phase was developing of the indoor fairy garden. And this was the best part of our learning experience. There were many more opportunities like that, but this one was the favorite of all the kids that we had. So what did we do is, we asked them certain questions like, how do you think the fairies were born? And the answers were amazing, that the fairies were born because they come out of a rainbow, or they hatch from an egg, or they are actually sleeping in the bud of the flower, and when the flower blooms, the fairies are born. We also asked them, how did you feel when you were making this plan? And we got a very good positive response. And the kids said that it was such a relaxing activity. We were happy and they wanted to contribute and make more fairies and the things that they could include in the garden. The next step of the inquiry cycle was making conclusions. So in this cycle, in this inquiry, we had to encourage the students to reflect on their learning. So this is what they learned. They learned that plants need to be watered often, otherwise they would dry. Flowers had fragrance. And the last step of our inquiry cycle was action. We took up a lot of social initiatives. One of them was Adopt a Tree. We distributed trees to our students, and till now we are happy to know that they are surviving and growing well. The other social initiative that we took was recycling drive for the newspaper and plastic bottles. During our sports day, we had a game in which our students learned to segregate the waste. We have this message on our school walls about e-waste. And during the plastic free day, our students made paper bags, decorated them, and spread the message like, let's say no to the plastic bags. Our phase 4 was developing a vegetable patch, and of course, our small children could not manage, and therefore, we involved our peers. And now we needed to explore the elements that are required for the vegetable patch. So we celebrated the soil day. The kids played in the soil and they understood how it feels. They had opportunity to dig.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Uttara. You have last 30 seconds to wrap it up, please.
Yeah, I'll go fast. Yeah. So they had opportunity to dig, mix, and carry stuff. And of course, they had rain dance and water play. We collected seeds. We experimented with them. Okay, we planted them. We had cooking experiences. We had a more herb and less salt day. Kids understood that healthy food eating is required, and when you cook food, the taste changes. We also had a science experience where children were doing tracing of shadows. And I'll quickly just take you through the slides. This is our vegetable patch currently, and this
we will have to just
products that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll end it over.
Wrap it up because
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Uttara and Pramila. And from your farmers market to going to Nature's Garden project and moving from simple to complex project. It is truly a creative preschool's ideas, and I'm sure my audience and everybody here enjoyed watching it. So thank you very, very much for presenting this. And at this moment, we will open for the audience question and answers. A big round of applause to Taiwan Public School. And you also bought
thank you so much.
Yes, and you bought fond memories back for me from Bombay. I belong from Bombay. So thank you very much, and thank you for being a part of our event. And now we open for the audience question and answers. And before we go to all the speakers for their individual questions, I saw that there was a particular question about the diploma program. Yes, the diploma program is available all over the globe because this is an online program. And do get in touch with us. I think my team has already sent you the links. So yes, it has already been sent and shared with you. After this, there was a question about the eSISU demo class. Yes, that's free. The demo class is free. I'm sure there is a registration form somewhere that you need to fill up. And after that, once you enroll your child, then the fees kick in. So I hope I have taken those questions. And now I will go to, if we have the STEM leadership keynote speakers to take their questions. Can we have Rachel? And if not, then we will move to Dr. Federica. You have a question. Would you like to answer that?
Yes, sure. Yes. The question is, you mentioned the positive impact, even though negative consequences, on the creativity during the pandemic. Happy to know any examples from Italy, and are there new trends emerging in social collaboration and remote learning? So first of all, thank you for this interesting question. In Italy, there is a renewed interest in collaborative approaches, even in distance learning, and teachers work together in meeting for planning and organizing proposals for children, even at distance. But the most interesting thing that is coming up is that we're seeing a new interest from lots of forms of school that starts outdoor. So schools are moving outdoors, and outdoor experiences are also interesting for the possibility to allow and to keep relational experiences alive even at the distance. And so this is what the main trend is. But we are doing a new literature review for just the Italian articles and papers that came up during this pandemic period, and the relationship with creativity. So I will keep you updated. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Federica. And I see a question that is for Dr. Kojam. Which EdTech tools you have used to analyze the data and the document in your learning? Is she with us? Is she around so that you can answer this question? Ma'am, over to you to answer this question, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you for interacting with my paper. It's a very interesting question. And for this analysis, I use narrative analysis. So those who want to undergo for qualitative research for studying children, narrative analysis is very important part of analysis. And as this present study is focused on case study, and the case study that the information collected from the parents and through the observation through WhatsApp video call and the photographs and the videos provided by the parents. So analyze it in different sections, that is activities related to psychosocial activities, which involves in the emotional as well as social development. And another one is about the cognitive development. It involves about the mental development, and then creativity, problem solving abilities. And another one is related to the physical activities, because physical development is also very important as a part of development of psychosocial development, because if we don't have good health, we cannot improve all the mental health also. So that is why for this particular question, I would like to say that as the particular present study is based on case study and it is part of the qualitative research, and all of the information I collected from my observation as well as photographs and videos provided by the parents from their observation. So I did narrative analysis, which is very important part of the children's study.
All right.
Thank you
very, very much. And before I take any last questions, I want to tell that we have people joining us from 34 countries, and we are just overwhelmed. And we send all this love and all this your participation. We send thank you to you, and we look forward for such participation tomorrow also. If there are more questions, you are more than welcome to send us via the email. Put it back on the YouTube, and we'll be happy to answer it in tomorrow's question and answer segment. And I will close the event for this afternoon, evening, or morning, and wish you all the success in the field that you're working. And we look forward to